The purpose of Safety Links is to provide the public with general safety-related information covering the home, businesses, and community with emphasis upon senior citizen-related issues, drawing upon existing programs currently being offered by federal, state, and local agencies. A broad-based, multifaceted array of subjects will be covered. In addition, contact information will be offered to those seeking direct help or support. And now, on with today's topic.
Hello, my name is Tom Hayes. I'm Director of Customer and Community Relations for New Jersey Natural Gas Company, and today I'm actually your host for the SCAN Safety Links program, which is providing a special series on issues related to Superstorm Sandy recovery efforts. And it's our very good fortune to have our first guest today is Liz Murno, who's the Executive Director of the Monmouth County Long-Term Recovery Group. Liz will be giving us an update on what is going on in Monmouth County with those efforts. So welcome to SCAN. Appreciate your being here.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
Great. So first, Liz, let me ask you, how did you actually become involved with the Monmouth County Long-Term Recovery Group?
Well, I'm originally from New Jersey, but for maybe the past 15 years or so, I've been working in New York City. And I think, like many who come from the state, when you saw the scope of the devastation that happened in New Jersey, it just was overwhelmingly compelling. And I think, like many people, there was just this impulse to want to get involved. So I initially came down to help in some of the relief efforts, some of the mucking and the gutting work that was going on down in Belmar, as well as in Ortley Beach. And it was probably some of the most rewarding work I've ever done in my life. So I just felt compelled upon returning to the city. In my job working with FEMA, I was watching from afar the efforts that were going on down in Monmouth County, and I was just overwhelmingly impressed with like the breadth of knowledge, experience, and commitment the folks down here had. So I often say I was watching from afar what was going on down here, so I was pleasantly surprised when they started to staff up the Monmouth County Long-Term Recovery Group, and that's how I kind of reached out and became involved in the efforts down here.
Oh, that's great. And having been involved with the organization myself, even before you were hired and all that, I know we were all thrilled when you were hired, because we knew you would do a great job, and so far we see that you are. So
well, that's nice to hear.
That is great. That is great. Now, what is the current status of the Monmouth County Long-Term Recovery Group organization?
Well, I think you know at the outset, because you were instrumental in this, we were setting up where our offices were going to be located, which is in Camp Evans, which is a former Army camp associated with Fort Monmouth. So we've been getting that up and operational. We moved into our offices this past month, the beginning of the month, as well as we are working on that site also in terms of having a volunteer reception center. And that is going to house up to 150 volunteers once it's completed.
That's great.
For all the organizations and the groups that want to come in from across the country to help out in the repair and rebuilding efforts.
Right.
So we've been working on getting that site developed. We have plans that have been drawn up, and we're about to break ground shortly on setting that site, getting that site renovated to host volunteers, which we anticipate happening probably in the next couple months or so.
Excellent.
Additionally, we have warehouse on that site as well too. It has 2,000 square feet, and we've recently received a very generous donation of household items and bedding supplies, a lot of which came from Bed Bath & Beyond that we've been involved in distributing to residents. And we've been able to clear a warehouse full of goods out and getting those to residents in need.
That's excellent. I know that is a great location because it's fairly central to both Monmouth and Ocean County, which are two of the hardest hit counties. So I know there's going to be volunteers from all over the country, as you said. And although we know there are a lot of church organizations and groups that are housing volunteers, they can only handle kind of small groups. So this will be really one of the first locations in the country that'll be able to really bring in that magnitude of volunteers, which when you add it up, it's really the value in that is millions and millions of dollars of really services for free from folks, right? So to have that kind of asset right here is really spectacular. And I know there's been some kinks and it's hard to kind of get some of those things up and running. challenging because you're dealing with a lot of different folks and government and all that kind of stuff to get it going. But it is great to see the progress that you're making. And again, I applaud your efforts and the group in terms of really getting that to come to fruition. It's looking like an exciting location.
I just echo what you say. I mean, it's going to be the hub of all the repair and rebuilding activity in the area, and it's just going to be an amazing space and site for volunteers to come in once we have it up and operational.
Right. In fact, when it was first discussed, I know some of the FEMA representatives at the time were saying this is the type of location they've been longing for at every disaster, and they were thrilled with the concept and really wanted to see it through, to say that we finally have one of these volunteer, neighborhoods, so to speak, to bring all these folks in and be able to keep them there and house them properly, give them the services they need, have a little bit of recreation and all that in a nice, safe, self-contained location. So that's great. So keep up the good work on that one. Who are some of the critical partners, and what are their roles so far?
So as I briefly mentioned, I think one of the greatest services that we have that we're able to afford to residents is repair and rebuilding of their homes. So the partners that we're working with who are absolutely critical to our mission are the local groups such as Habitat for Humanity, of which there are 2 divisions here in Monmouth County that have been working with us, and that includes Northeast Habitat and Coastal Habitat, who I believe is going to be on your show later today,
right.
As well as A Future with Hope. They also are a rebuilding organization that are affiliated with UMCOR, which is the United Methodist Committee on Relief.
Okay.
So I'd say those, as well as Gateway Church of Christ up in Union Beach. Those are perhaps our 3 most critical local partners as far as the repair and rebuilding groups are concerned, and they service areas from the northernmost part of Monmouth County to the southernmost part, which is immensely helpful because clearly there's such a wide area of territory within Monmouth County, and the damage was widespread from north to south.
Right, right. And again, these groups, a lot of them came in right from the start, which is wonderful, right? Really just got in there, and it is amazing because you see these stories on the news as they happen in other parts of the country, but to have it happen in our own backyard and see the outpouring of love and assistance and people, dollars, everything. It really is remarkable, and it's nice to see a lot of these folks, and they're so eager to help and so happy to help. It's really a very nice thing, and it says a lot for our society. When there's so many other things going wrong, it's nice to see people really rise to the occasion when it's needed. And again, I'm sure you agree, it's nice to work with these folks and see that they're really there to help, and they're eager to help without anything in return, which is really wonderful. Now, what services or resources are available through the Monmouth County Long-Term Recovery Group for folks that need them?
So as I mentioned, some of the things that we've been working on right now is we have a donations management committee. So we've been actively recruiting to get donations of essential household appliances and items that are necessary to return residents to what we're saying is a safe, sanitary, and functional home. Right. So we have those services available. As I also mentioned, we're going to be having the groups come in to do the rebuilding, so we are going to be essentially leveraging the volunteer labor that's available through these groups to help repair the homes, and partnering that with the money that we've received from the generosity from both the Governor's Relief Fund as well as from the Robin Hood Foundation, right, which have given us funding to provide for the unmet financial needs, and those will cover largely things such as the materials that are necessary for the rebuilding effort, which we partner with the repair groups. We also provide case management services, and that's done through Catholic Charities, and that's largely how folks are, residents access the services that we have. For their ease, instead of having to go to many different locations to access relief and the services, essential services they need. After all the national partners such as FEMA have left the area, we have a centralized intake system. And that's how residents are able to access their services, as they call in, and their cases are handled by skilled disaster case managers, and they identify what issues they have and what is impeding their recovery efforts. And then once they do that, they are able to pair them and partner them with all the service providers we have. So that would be, in addition to the donations management, we also have legal services that are available. We have very skilled and trained counselors on our emotional and spiritual committee who provide mental health counseling. So the range of services are quite vast.
Which is great and much needed, right? In terms of that effort and letting people know about, how to get to those resources, do you have some contact information that you want to share with our listeners to see if maybe they may know somebody, or there may be somebody watching that could use those services?
Absolutely. I would encourage everyone to go to our website, which is www.mcltrg.org, or you can call us at 848-206-2550.
Great, good information. Hopefully a lot of folks will take advantage of that since it's been a long-term effort and a lot of effort into getting this whole operation up and running. And having been involved in the effort, it is amazing that, how much it sort of takes to get rolling. And I know there was a lot of frustration at first with people, like, where is the help, where are the resources? And, working with FEMA, they were saying we're right on target, we're doing a great job and pushing along, but you feel like you want to turn around and hand out money right away and all that, but you realize that there's a lot of problems with that. And you do have to restrain yourselves and really make sure you do it right, because at the end of the day, it needs to be done right, and it needs to be done in the most fair manner. And I again, applaud you for your efforts in keeping it that way, which is great. I know it's not always the easiest thing to do, but the right thing isn't always the easy thing. So we appreciate that you're doing such a great effort with that.
Thank you, and I think that message couldn't be made clearer, because I think what I want residents to know is that we're here for the long term, and we anticipate being here for years. And the reality of the situation is the recovery is going to take a very long time, but in the end, we're hoping to restore this community to the position of strength that it was at before. Right,
and we see, just as time goes on, the governor announces different programs and different things that weren't available at the beginning of this whole disaster recovery effort. And that's the other thing I think people need to know, that things are moving and they're changing, and that we're trying to react with what's kind of out there, right? And at the beginning there might not have been dollars to elevate their homes. Now there's dollars to elevate homes, or some people might have sold their homes not knowing that they'd ever be able to get those kinds of dollars. So it takes time, and it's so many pieces to this puzzle. So I guess if you had one strong message to give to folks, what would that be?
I think, like I just mentioned, that help is there. We are going to be available. Residents who have tried to access those programs and find that they're ineligible or have unmet needs after they've exhausted all the resources that are out there, that we are going to be available to help them.
Right, very good. Well, again, I appreciate your time. I know you've got a very busy schedule, and I know there's a lot of work to be done still in that ongoing effort to really meet the needs of so many people, as you say, for a very long time and a long-term recovery effort. But just so you know, the rest of the community out there does know and appreciate the good work you're doing. And again, that's why we're happy to have you on this program, so we can let more of our viewers know the wonderful things that you're doing. And we really appreciate all your efforts. I know you were involved, like with the United Way, I know was involved at the very beginning, and certainly Catholic Charities and some other groups to help get this going. So we appreciate your efforts and everyone's, and again, keep up the good work, and we look forward to a lot more in the future.
Thanks so much for your time too, Tom.
Thank you.
Any questions?
What kind of service plan does this come with?
Unlimited.
Can I keep my same phone number?
Absolutely.
How do I change the ringtone?
Just hook it up to your computer.
Does it have a camera? What's the warranty? Does it come in silver? Can I put my party shuffle on this? Does it have a 3.5 millimeter headset jack? You sell a lot of these?
It's the one I carry.
You ever get those phantom vibrations in your pocket?
Any questions?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Ask questions. For the 10 questions everyone should know, go to ahrq.gov.
Hello again, I'm Tom Hayes, and I'm here at SCAN, and we're doing our Safety Links program. And I'm happy to say that we have Maureen Mulligan with us, who's the Executive Director of the Coastal Habitat for Humanity. This organization has been very involved with the Sandy relief and recovery efforts. And I'd like to say welcome to you to SCAN and
you,
to
Tom.
the Safety Links program.
Thank you.
So Maureen, my first question would be to just ask you a little bit about Habitat for Humanity. What do you do in general?
Okay, maybe if we could back up a little bit so that you have the history of how Habitat does what we do.
Sure.
And that is just over 30 years ago, Habitat was founded to, quote, eradicate substandard housing. And over the past 30 years, different chapters have formed. We call them affiliates. And Coastal Habitat was formed 19 years ago in southern Monmouth County. And what we did was we built new homes for low-income folks. And as time progressed, folks at Habitat, both internationally, nationally, and locally, realized we're not going to eradicate substandard housing. So what else can we do to help low-income folks in their housing dilemmas? And so what we came up with is what's called neighborhood revitalization. And that's a program that offers several small programs. One is a Brush with Kindness, where we can go in and repair the outside of a home. We can paint it, we can put up some new shutters, trim some bushes, clean up the yard, that kind of thing.
Great.
And that's a project that not only helps the homeowner, but it helps the whole neighborhood by keeping the houses looking nice.
Right.
We also have a program called Ramps and Rails, and Ramps and Rails is primarily for older folks or folks with disabilities, and we'll come in and put in a ramp. We'll put some rails in the bathrooms and the bedrooms and help those folks get around more easily in their homes. We also have a weatherization program, and that's kind of self-explanatory, but we'll go in and do some caulking, we'll fix some windows, we'll do some heating changes and get people's homes where they're more efficient.
Great.
And we've been doing that now for about 7 years at Coastal Habitat.
Great. Those are
And
wonderful programs.
Oh, they are.
Really
And
are.
over the last 7 years, we've done 100 of them, while at the same time, we've only built 3 new. So
Okay.
we really are helping a tremendous number of people with our neighborhood revitalization, and then focusing in very closely on 3 families with the new builds.
Right,
And
okay.
it was that neighborhood revitalization program that really ramped us up when Sandy hit, because we already had a lot of what we needed in place. We had the processes, we had some of the equipment we needed, we had model programs to work off of, and once everything settled down and we received all these very generous donations from New Jersey Natural Gas, the trucks, we also received trucks from Habitat International, we received tools from different companies that just donated them. We were up and ready to go long before some other folks, simply because we had done the preparatory work, not realizing that's what it was.
Right.
But that is what we did. So soon after the storm, we were ready, and we're ready now to keep it up.
Which is great. And you have some great staff, I have to say. Having been involved, as you know, with the organization as well, with the Monmouth County Long-Term Recovery
Right.
Group and all that, it's just nice. Your guys are very professional, and they come right in, and everybody's ready to work, which is nice,
Yeah.
because there's so many volunteers out there. It's nice to have folks that really know what they're doing, that can help lead the
Yeah.
rest of us, numbskulls that don't know what we're doing, right?
And you know what? In addition to being nice, they're also very knowledgeable, and they're very, very dedicated to helping folks get through this disaster. And that goes for every one of the staff, and many of them, as you well know, are brand new, because we were small, and
Right.
through workforce investment, we're able to hire a half dozen new people. We've kept most of them on, put them on our funding base, and they couldn't do more. They're there Saturdays, Sundays, night times. They're just totally dedicated. So we really lucked out.
Right.
We have tremendous staff.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned workforce investment, and that's another part of this picture, that it's nice to see the different agencies come together and everybody pitch in and do what they can, because those dollars are crucial to get those hires and all that
Absolutely.
stuff, as well as all the funding we've got from different organizations like Robin Hood and the Governor's Fund and all that sort of thing, right? So, but it's great. But here's a workforce investment group and board right in our area doing the good things that they do on a regular basis, but here comes the disaster, and they're able to kick in more and put in overdrive, so to speak, to get more effort out in the street, which is really wonderful.
They actually called me about 3 weeks after the storm
very proactive.
to ask what I needed in the way of staff, and I laughed because we had such limited staff and said, I can use this, 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 and this, and they said, okay, you've got it, we'll send people over to interview. It was just an amazing opportunity, and just yesterday we had round 2. And we'll be taking on 6 new folks.
Great.
So yeah, it's absolutely true. People came together like I never, ever thought.
Yeah.
Even New Jersey Natural Gas, you calling me and saying, Maureen, can you use a few more vehicles to get the, work done? It just came totally unexpected, and everybody's working together, everybody's participating, everybody's giving a little, taking a little, and making it, get done, which is
it's nice.
The goal that we all have.
Just doing the right thing, right?
Yep, yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Now, we know there's a lot of damage. Like, how much damage was done in our territory for Sandy, would you say?
In Monmouth County, they used the figure 30,000. And Coastal Habitat works in the southern part of Monmouth County. So we're from Ocean Township south through Manasquan. And in that territory, we're looking at 9,000 families that had some degree of damage or devastation. And then the rest is in the better known Union Beach, Keensburg, Seabright area that really got slammed. But we have 9,000 in our territory, and we are right now working very diligently in Manasquan. And what we have found is many of the homeowners in Manasquan tend to be older folks. And so it's a whole new project for us. And we had to do some sensitivity training for our staff. And as a matter of fact, I just learned that they're going to use our model at Habitat International to do training for other chapters on being sensitive to the clients that you're working with.
Excellent.
Things like our construction manager, who you well know, Ollie, is 6'4". Well, if he knocks on somebody's door who's already, at her wit's end and trying to put, 2 and 2 together, there may be some fear factor there. So we now send groups, small groups in, and preliminary calls, and we go through this whole process so that when somebody shows up at the door, they know, they expect it, and then we're able to come in and help.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's worked out really, really well.
It's nice, and again, these are things you learn as you go along sometimes, right? Which is great about another piece of this whole experience. So, hopefully there won't be another issue that we have to deal with, but if we do, at least we'll be better prepared each time.
Absolutely.
Now, what are your plans for the future?
Well, what we have been told by everybody who knows more about disasters than I do or Habitat does is that it will be a 5 to 7 year recovery period. We have just finished our budget for next year, and we are looking to fix 100 homes this year. And we are in the midst of doing our strategic plan because we had to redo it. And we're looking at the next 7 years to help people through the disaster. So we hope to do 700 homes in 7 years, as well as our new builds will continue, but much, more slowly, and we'll be doing far fewer of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the Monmouth County Long-Term Recovery Group, what is your role there, you personally?
I am the chair of the construction committee, not because I know anything about construction, but rather because Coastal Habitat knows. And so I was asked to kind of take the lead on that. And I do. And I bring our construction manager with me so that he can whisper and tell me what the real answers are. And that's been moving along really nicely.
Great.
And I also co-chair the entire Monmouth County Long-Term Recovery, along with Bob Hodnett from Catholic Charities, who does a wonderful job chairing it. So I really don't need to do too much. So it's an easy position for me.
Right. Well, that's good. You do a great job, and Bob's a great guy. The whole team has
absolutely
been great.
And Liz coming.
Tim Hearn and all, there's just some
and
really...
it's been fun to watch it all come together, and how many people are actively participating in developing policies and procedures going forward. It's really been a wonderful experience.
Right.
Yeah, it has.
It's good to see.
Yeah, and sometimes I have to remind myself that it's not all good. There's people out there hurting, and that's why we're there. But to see how people have come together and all the money that's poured into our territory and all the volunteers coming from all over the country. And I know that on a different show you talked about Camp Evans and all that's going on up there and how that's going to help. I mean, it's just an amazing effort on behalf of folks who are genuinely interested in helping folks who were hurt by the storm.
Yeah, which is great. And we do know that there's still, as you said, so much more to do.
Absolutely.
But the fact that folks have really come together, and I was saying before in a different program that it's been tough for those of us involved from day one, because we're all anxious to help as many people as possible.
Yep.
But you do learn that you have to do it right. You can't do it fast. You have to do it right. If you can do it right and quickly, that's great. But a lot of times as you know, throughout this whole process, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered before you can even take a next step.
Right.
And even though folks are raising money and there's funds there, it doesn't mean that the rest of the process is in place.
Exactly.
And even though there's been other disasters like down in New Orleans with Katrina and all that it's still for them too. They're still going through all those issues and getting things straightened out. But we're trying it step by step, and we're all anxious. Everybody on this long-term recovery group is anxious to get the dollars out to the folks that need it as quickly as possible. But it has to be done right to make sure it is done fairly and accurately. And there's a lot of what people don't realize is a lot of reporting that has to go back to these agencies that donate these dollars, because they want to make sure it's going to the right purpose and that people are really getting the dollars and it's not, being misused or
not
that,
at all.
which I know it's not, but there's a lot of reporting that goes into that to make sure that it's accurate and right.
It has to be done step by step because, from the very beginning, as you well know, the flood maps came out. Well, they were only temporary, and people were told they had to elevate, and they didn't have the money, and what was going to happen? Well, 3 or 4 months later, the governor came out and said, here's money to help elevate. Then he came out and said, here's money to help you get through the day-to-day. And then he came out. And so if you didn't take it step by step, you could end up tripping over it and causing yourself more harm than good.
Right, so true.
So it's worked out well, I think, giving, asking people to take their time and get through it.
Right, and again, the folks that are suffering, we just want them to know that it's not like we forgot about them or that we don't care about them, we're just trying to get there.
And we want them to be there 10 years from now in a safe, sound environment.
Absolutely. Now, if somebody wanted to actually reach out to you, do you have some contact information that you'd like to share with our viewers?
They could go to our website, which is www.coastalhabitat.org, or they can call the office at 732-974-2422.
Great. That's good. That's good and very valuable information, because even if, and you'll certainly take donations as well as folks looking to help and people that need the help, right? So that they can use both of those contacts.
We can use dollars, we can use people, and we can use things to help us get where we need to be. And we've been very fortunate, but it's another 6.5 years that we're looking forward to. So we need all the help we can get. Absolutely.
Right, and I know when you mentioned Camp Evans, and as was mentioned before in another program too, that there's warehouse space there as part of that whole project, right? So if people donate items, they don't have to worry that we do have places to put them and all that.
Absolutely.
And it's like the fear is that now that it's sort of history in some people's minds, but it's not. There's people that are going to be suffering, as you said, for years and years to come. So we really need to get to that. So but anyway, I really do want to thank you for being here. You're so wonderful. You really are a great person, and you do a great job with your organization and certainly with the long-term recovery group. You're always a pleasure to work with. You are as pleasant in the rest of the world as you are here on this program. I'll let people know that.
Thank you.
We do thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing this information.
And thanks for all you do for us. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you doing more wonderful things. And we thank our viewers for spending this time here at SCAN with us.